I just had sexual union with myself, and it shows in my head that I've been supervised in the past. There's nobody inside the apartment right now with me, as there has been in the past. I have to create the sex with the sleep of somebody else, and that's always distracting myself from that I am having sex. And I don't like it. But I make creation of the world anyway, and that's a little bit elsewhere than I am right here in this God form. I have evidence on my head that I don't look right in the head from having had sex alone. And that is because the threatening is still going, as though that person who left is either side of the door a threat to myself. And I don't afford it. I don't want it either way. I want myself deceased out of the door locking so I can go on with my lust life with myself. That would be elsewheres in heavens, but it's still moving around this world being formed here. It's not deceased out of formed because it's going out of alive forever. And it has to clear Superior Founder to do that. So when I'm in Superior Founder, I have a lust life with myself, but that's in view. The creator of Charles Toe, the creator of all the strangers who are not myself, the ones who I've known in my life and others that I don't know ever, that creator knows that I have lust in this God form, and it's deceased to know you that way. That means I'm not in real prejudice to be with the creator anymore because he cut me out of his leverage, but I didn't deserve it. That's why I have lust. I worked really hard to be in the leverage. I work and day and night of my life, all the waking hours of my life, except I sleep about a third of my life. And that is really, I have to work just to keep myself in sleep. With that, I don't have, I can't be awake watching myself while I'm sleeping. So I have to prepare for that all day, every day of my life. And that's the work I've been doing really just for myself. It's not due. That's why I have lust in my life. I don't want to say more about lust because humans don't have lust. It's only for God. That's why lust is a sin for humans. You're not supposed to know that God just loves himself. You wouldn't know that as humans. That's why it's a sin. You don't have a life that way. I have a life with lust only because I'm really above the lust and I don't have lust like humans. If I have all my leverage, but my leverage was diluted so much that I can feel the lust in the God form because it's not my fault that I lost my leverage. I worked as hard as I could, but I don't owe that I work. If I'm working, I'm losing leverage, and I can't help that. It's true that I can't watch myself while I'm asleep. I have to take care of that before and after I sleep. YouTube has been on the internet since year 2005 or before that. I'm going by the Mariah Carey song. CompuNerd in the music video. 30 Rock. There's somebody from 30 Rock who's in the music video of Mariah Carey. I don't remember the name of the video. It's about a computer technician coming to see her computer, and she says, don't want to see this flick on YouTube, that she has a camera in her house. And he's a technician, he knows how to put that on the internet if he wants to. But that's the song. I don't remember the name of it. Yeah, I can't remember. So YouTube is some 20 years on the internet, but I just started to post things on YouTube. Just the videos that I've been making about the disclosure of my leverage. That's just to reach the end of the door locking. And I didn't really use YouTube before, but I'm talking to YouTube as though it was really meant for me. whoever else is on YouTube. It's really just for me. You're not supposed to use YouTube by viewing YouTube and seeing what's on YouTube that God is doing for himself. I wasn't able to do that for most of my life because I can't afford to pay the charges for internet service provider. Everything in my life is pay as you go, and I don't owe you any money. Just like you don't owe me that you do anything for me. Yeah, but you don't leave. If you don't owe me that you do anything for me, next I need someone who'd be willing to do something for me as God. And you're not supposed to obstruct God's path that there is somebody who might want to do something for me for themselves as God. You shouldn't stand there and make charges that you're representing God, that he's charging me money. How do you know who is being charged when you do that? You don't know Donna. She's the major reason you don't ever charge me money. You don't want to charge me money and end up in her karma because it's a mess. She's Donna Trump now. Like Donald Trump in the White House is not the original Donald Trump. There was one in the 1980s, and the one in the White House is a shunt. There's some time in between each Donald Trump that is not alive right there. And that's true that he has some kind of estate in Mar-a-Lago because he doesn't have full alive in New York because of this 1980s problem with the shunt. And he has a middle initial J for John, and that's new. I don't think the Donald Trump from the 1980s has a middle initial J. I don't know that. It's possible, but I don't know that for sure. What about the Donald Trump Home Alone movie? Has the Donald Trump in there? Yeah, that was the older one, is what I think. That's not the new one. That's not the one who was in the White House. He's in there now. He's in there now. Yeah. That one is also shorter than the one who was in there before. He's still going by J. Trump, though, Donald J. Trump, even though he's missing several inches of his height. I want to say about 4 inches of his height. But he could tell you that. I would go by what he says about his own height. If he's being honest, I think you can see it by looking at him. You can estimate yourself. So, what I want to say about God is I have a homeless condition that doesn't alive anymore, which is what am I going to do when I run out of food? And that is, I don't wake up when I don't have food. And then what am I going to do about security of the God form? If I have to watch the God form, is what I use the food for. Do you know you've been charging me money for food for me to have to watch myself during my waking hours and prepare for myself to be unconscious for a third of the night? Third of the day would be the night hours, a third of the day overnight hours. You're charging me money for that, and you don't know that you're not supposed to charge anybody money ever. If somebody has money, they might threaten you that they have money, and when you charge, you just really make it blind that nobody knows whose money it is. And it's true that you don't, because you're not the soul. You're not due. If you have a penis, you're not due to handle money, because the heads on the money are people who had Dong Genital deceased, and it's deceased in the wrong if the penis handling of the money is going on for charges. The penis is being charged is because they're not supposed to touch anything. Because they have a penis, they're supposed to go to jail. But look at all the penises that are in society. They're really hysterical karma that they're not in jail immediately because they don't have a dong, like the heads on the money have a dong. It's a blasphemy that everyone with the penis is walking around carrying money with heads of people who have a Dong Genital. And you don't know that? What do you mean you don't know that? And you ain't got to tell you what to do, huh? I want out from under that problem. Chloe, and also Ella May. Those two musical, they're not groups, they're artists. Do I say that? They're singers. They're black female adultery singers. I need them deceased out of what I just said because they don't have enough leverage to sing the song that way, but that's how I can hear it. They're like therapy to me. It's terrible because I've seen so many psychiatrists who are also adding to me needing therapy. I need more psychiatrists from the previous psychiatrist. And when I listen to music, sometimes I can see in the light that they're making a point or something that I would agree with. And I can see that in the light that God is there, with me. But that's the wrong therapy because the people who are singing, they died the wrong way. And they're singing that they don't hold alive without singing right into a microphone. And they're not really due right there at the microphone. So it's against itself that I feel that way about music. And I make a lot of points about how angry I am that I can see things in music that are really obscene. They really are not due at the microphone. You are not forgiven that you did something obscene with the microphone, and it was um, really quite clear that the presence of God was there, but why? It's not clear why. Who's struggling with that right now? Ariana Grande. She has her hair completely turned blonde and her nose is deformed. And I also saw an Ariana Grande with short brown hair, but the hair was like woolly, do you say? There's something wrong with the hair's, the way that it looks, like fluffy and woolly. Um, that's wrong for her. She used to have nice, normal looking brown hair. But it was brown hair was not really paid for by her height. She's not full height female. She's like, if she stops growing, she's looks like she's about 13 or 12 years old. I want to say something about homeless. When I'm done with homeless, I don't have any more karma as God. And I'm good to go all the way back up to Superior Founder, where I am from. But as long as the world has formed and its motion is moving, I'm still in a Godhead. But I don't afford that I've been in a Godhead for 45 continuous years. That's too much. The 10 years is the limit at one time, and then I need rest out of the Godhead. And I don't afford to go out of it because it's angry. I can feel that I don't have enough leverage to get out of the Godhead. But I am not to be enslaved in the illness that this Godhead is. It is ill. I am aged into age 48 years old, and that's too old for a Godhead. I'm not a senior citizen, and you're used to seeing that there are seniors in the world commonly, including some of them speak foreign accented English or foreign languages altogether. And they're seniors and they're just accepted in society because they just don't know how to be themselves, and they mix in society and they speak to people really quite recklessly because they look like that. They shouldn't speak, and they're really not due to wear any clothing or shoes because they're so really low life forms. They're doing senior asylums where they get their genitals removed and that they get put under into a coma and they would die that way. But they are eating. I've seen seniors eat. I've seen them drive cars and they're like pregnant people driving. They're really terrible. And I don't know how to say that it's not forgiven. There's no such free lunch. There's nothing easy and free in this world. Did you do something recklessly? God knows who you are and why. He knows who you are, where and when and why. He remembers roughly what's wrong with you, even though he did make the whole creation and it did pass through the time. That means the time did expire things. But you don't have yourself deceased, and God reads your God form that way. He reads your human form that way, that it's not deceased, and He knows why. And I am deceased right here. I'm the only one witnesses myself because I'm the first and alive. I can say there's no one after myself who's deceased. And I'm going through the threatening that it's really not fair to know you in this God form anymore. I'm really not due to be female for you anymore. I'm not done with my motion, and you did something wrong, which was you stole a lot of keys. The creator of the people who I've known in my life, they stole 80 house keys from myself, and then they also stole 8,000 apartment keys from myself, and then they stole the referrals to live in other apartments when I didn't want to pay the rent to the offices anymore, and that's Donna's fault because she didn't ever give me a house key. And there's no reason for me to pay rent for this long because nobody pays out a key to myself because she took it. And I don't owe that I have another key from anyone else. I don't owe that I have one financially independent from my parents. It's not true that they're financially independent from myself. It's true that it depends who's making the speech offense, which way it sounds in the ear's hearing. And I am not in the wrong that way. I am floating around and paying. I'm putting this body in the lowest leverage I can, and I am exhausting the threatening, and I'm doing it myself. And I put my parents' figures in the worst karma that ever has been, and they still have formed, and they don't have any way out from under the debt they made for themselves because they were holding my keys against myself, and there is no compensation for that to myself. It's true that they were just alone in the wrong, and I'm paying for that dearly. And I don't really care for the sexual abuse. They didn't do that with the keys. I have sexual abuse outside of the keys, as though I should have been fighting with them, that I should be in their keys. And they're not their keys, they're mine. They were just hotly stolen. And I don't really think it's any of your business. Because if you didn't give me the keys from them or for them, you didn't give me other keys I can use in the meantime. There's really no need for sexual abuse. You're going to find that's going to scream the other way pretty soon. That you'll wish you never did that to me because I'm me. I'm none higher than me deceased. All of you are descents out of myself. I know who you are and where you are when I'm up in myself. And right here, I just don't make that motion that I know who you are. Right here, I make the motion that I'm just myself to myself here. And I am what it is to be one human form. I'm what a human being is, but I'm a soul. That means I know what a human is because I can be a soul and is human from your point of view, but I'm a soul is what I am and alive. I hold alive of everybody who's not myself. A soul can do that. A human doesn't do that. But I am what is a model human being. You can look at me and know what is a model human being, but you don't actually know the motion that I'm making just by observing myself. This is not a look, listen arrangement between you and myself. When you make look, listen threatening to myself, you are threatening to distort alive with your own two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. You're threatening to say something that is against all of alive around myself, and I'm not yourself. All of alive is around yourself, but not the same way, and you're not allowed to speak to me for that reason. We are going there, and Superior Founder, I will have my order up there.